What federal recognition does not determine. 1. Whether an individual is indigenous by ancestry, bloodline, or genealogy. 2. Whether a people historical existed as indigenous. 3. Whether a tribe survived misclassification, genocide, or racial redefinition. 4. Whether an individual is of Aboriginal descendants since ancient mound building times. 5. Federal recognition is not a measure of indigenous authenticity. It is a colonial administrative gatekeeping system that exclude many tribes, especially those 6, reclassified as Negro, Black, Colored, and Mulatto under the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 and Indian Removal Act of 1830. 7. The Jim Crow era, Trail of Tears, and Walter Plecker Paper era. 8. For far too long, a single government form has claimed the power to decide who is or is not indigenous. Today, we look past that gate and remember the nation's history tried to erase. 9. What federal recognition really is. Federal recognition is not a blood test, an ancestral record, or a sacred affirmation. It is a political and administrative status the United States grants through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Critics argue it was designed more to contain tribal sovereignty than to validate it, especially after the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act and New Deal reorganization era. 10. This paperwork never asked whether a people survived forced removals, boarding school policies, or mass relabeling under laws like Virginia's 1924 Racial Integrity Act. Many nations reclassified as Negro, Colored, or Mulatto found themselves written out of existence on paper, but not in spirit. 11. A word about fakes. Some community leaders go so far as to call certain federally recognized entities inauthentic. Not everyone agrees, and recognized tribes themselves defend their legitimacy. What is clear, paper status alone never created an indigenous nation. Ancestry, culture, and continuous community did. The debate is about who the paperwork left out, not about erasing those it includes. 12. The Spanish conquistadors and early look back 5 centuries. In 1493, the Spanish crown's Intercaetera Bull claimed the right to every soul it discovered. Conquistadors landed in the Caribbean, Mesoamerica, and the Southeast long before England erected Jamestown. They baptized millions into Negro or Moro categories, words that simply meant black in Spanish, often slapped onto indigenous peoples whose skin tone fit the label. Under a sword and a cross, complex nations became entries in colonial ledgers: Negro, Mulatto, Indio, Servile. These labels rolled forward through French, British, and later U.S. census takers. By 1900, many southeastern and mid-Atlantic tribes no longer appeared as Indian at all. Yet, their descendants never left. 13. Why classification still matters. Modern laws tie land, healthcare, and sovereignty itself to that decades-old checklist. When the BIA rules a petitioner did not function as a tribe, it may be looking at records its own predecessors altered. So a colonial erasure becomes today's denial letter. 14. Paths to reclaiming status. You are more than a code in a federal registry. Step 1 is research: oral history, church rolls, Spanish mission records, Freedmen Bureau archives, land patents, any place ancestors left footprints the census missed. Step 2 is community. Find or build tribes with open enrollment who value documented lineage over a rubber stamp. Step 3 is law and policy. Some nations revive through state recognition, others through treaty enforcement, some under international indigenous rights frameworks like UNDRIP. None of these routes require you to surrender identity to a colonial checklist. 15. This is your jubilee, a return of the ancient ones. We stand in the footprints of those mislabeled, miscounted, yet never erased. Beyond the colonial checklist, reclaiming our indigenous identity. Their heartbeat is our drum. Their story is our future. Reclaim it.